What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Third and 10 podcast, season 2, episode 16. We're so close to the start of the NFL regular season. We just have to get through this week and then another week, and then we're week 1 of the preseason, regular season, I should say, begins for our beloved Giants and the other 31 teams in the NFL. As always, I'm Nate. Brian's here to my right. Brian, before you say anything, I do have sort of a surprise for you. Not really. Because
All right.
I heard your Mets did something good today.
They did.
In the ninth inning. As
Mhm.
you know, I'm a Phillies fan and also an A's fan myself. Sir Anthony Dominguez got traded from the Phillies to the Baltimore Orioles. That was honestly sad for me to see because I personally love Sir Anthony. But, ever since he's joined Baltimore, things haven't gone so well. So the Orioles are like, you know what? Let's trust him in the ninth inning. Yeah, it didn't go well. Play the clip.
3-2 from Dominguez. And Winker strokes one deep left center field. Back goes Mullins near the wall. It's out of here! Jesse Winker's first home run as a New York Met is a walk-off shot in the bottom of the ninth. And the Mets do it again with the game-winning home run by Winker. They take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles.
Video courtesy of SNY TV. Appreciate it. Brian, your thoughts? I mean, what a game.
I mean, how could you not love that if you're a Mets fan? Jesse Winker, who a few years ago every Met fan hated, now we all love him. Big Jesse Winker fan, as you can see in my thing right here.
Jesse Winker's biggest fan.
Yeah. But no, this is a huge win. Gary Cohen, as always, with an unbelievable call. You can hear the love and passion in his voice, and just seeing how pumped up Jesse Winker is when he hit that ball. I mean, you saw it on Monday night when Alvarez hit a home run. It's very similar. Like, this is my house, very similar, hyped up. Not as hyped up as Winker was. That's the exact energy we need going back out west to take on the Padres in a huge 4-game series to win 2 of 3 against the Baltimore Orioles. Some say they're the best team in the league, one of the best teams in the American League East, at least. Huge win. Go out there and get the series against San Diego. Let's get that third wild card. Let's go, boys.
Let's do it. These Mets, they're, I think, 3 games back of a wild card spot, which is perfectly in range. So this win was a huge win for you guys as well. And you called it in an article that you read for Belly Up Sports in terms of before the deadline, in terms of guys that Mets should trade for. You mentioned Winker, and turns out they traded for him for the deadline, and it seems
a few
like
times this year. I've done it a few times this year. I've done Kane to the Red Wings. I've done Kikuchi to the Astros. I've done Winker to the Mets. Like, I predicted 3 major moves, guys. Let's go. Where's my shine?
I think you should predict one more trade for our Giants, and we'll get to that trade later on in just a bit. But heck of a game by the Mets. Great for Winker, great for the Mets. And yeah, you guys are right there in the wild card race. I believe you guys are like 9 games back of the division. But like you mentioned before in a previous episode, that you guys are more focused on the wild card with the Phillies and the Braves kind of battling out for the division title. So we'll see what happens there. But want to share that moment with you. And yeah, congrats to you guys. Heck of a win. Alrighty, our Giants. Unfortunately, we didn't cover this earlier, but hey, this is what today's episode's for on Wednesday. We'll start with the Giants-Texans game. Giants lost 28-10 to Houston. The good news is the starters all played on Saturday. Yes, it was Saturday. Daniel Jones, Devin Singletary, Malik Nabers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jen Hyatt were the starters on the quarterback, running back, and receiver position, respectively. Theo Johnson was at tight end, and then the offensive line consisted of Andrew Thomas, Aaron Stinney. Apparently, John Runyon Jr. did not play because of an injury, but John Michael Smith played, Greg Van Roten played, and Jermaine Illuminor played at right tackle for the Giants. So before we even get to the takeaways, in terms of that offensive line, Brian, in terms of, I guess, if you just replace Stinney with Runyon, do you believe that should be the main offensive line group week 1, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We even saw it in that Texans game. They did play pretty well. Like that clip of Andrew Thomas at the goal line where he just shoves that guy is going viral right now. So it just shows that this Giants line has come a long way.
Definitely. And it's like there were a few images I saw on social media as well. I was working, I didn't watch the entire game, but there were a few times in the game where Daniel Jones had a really clean pocket. I mean, there's linemen, doing their assignments and everything, and there's so much room for Jones to navigate without having to worry about pressure, like we've seen in previous years. So, great on the offensive line. And shout out again. I think, we talk about Brian Burns, we talk about Malik Nabers and the offseason acquisitions the Giants made from a player perspective, but I think if this season goes well for the Giants, a lot of props has to be given to offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo. I mean, ever since he's joined,
Question.
heck of a
Hmm.
job.
Yeah, no, without question. He is one of the biggest additions we had this offseason. And like he's never get the shine because A, he's a coach and B, he's an offensive lineman coach. Like the offensive line never gets the praise they should. Runyon, Illuminor, Van Rotten, they're all great additions to the Giants. These are all they're not the sexy names, not the Quentin Nelsons, they're not, the Trent Williams. They're not that. But what
Hmm.
these guys are solid NFL capable linemen. These guys have started for years in different positions, know what it means to just block, okay? We're not having guys that we're hoping develop into good linemen. We're not having experienced guys playing positions they haven't played. We're just getting solid linemen who just are there to block. That's it. That's all the
Hmm.
Giants need. And I'm not asking the Giants to have a top 5 line, top 15 line, a better, top 16 line. That's fine. As long as you give Daniel Jones that 3 seconds for the play to develop, that's all you need a line to do.
Hmm. And that does kind of tie into the fact that, it is Jones has been a bit of a slow processor, throughout his career, and that's kind of a bad thing, but hopefully things change in 2024. A big emphasis was placed on big plays in this game against Houston. It was clear. I was talking to you, Brian, off air during the game, and I asked you about Jones, and you mentioned how he was playing overly aggressive, but you didn't like that. If you want to explain further as to why, because personally, I think it was good that he was throwing the ball down the field, and I know you like that too. But in terms of the aggressiveness, that didn't really was something to your liking, correct?
Not that it wasn't to my liking, but this is Daniel Jones's first game back since he tore his ACL against the Raiders. And I understand it's a preseason. I understand all that. This game doesn't matter. We can take risks. But what this should be is getting Daniel Jones ready for the regular season, all right? Get him up to speed, get into the offense. Daniel Jones, in the 6 years, has never been that aggressive playmaker. He's always been more of a conservative quarterback. So why are we now in his first game back from a major injury trying to rush him into this, deep throwing guy? We should build him back up. I would love it if Daniel Jones goes out there and plays more aggressively. At first, I want him to get back to the level of quarterback I know he is. For that to happen, he needs to be like that. So to go out there and play aggressive like that, sure, it's a good sign, but we saw A, the rust he had because he looked terrible, and B, now he's not just focusing on, getting back to a level. He's now trying to take a step forward that he, didn't really take last year. So he's only trying to take 2 steps forward while rehabbing. It makes no sense. It should be play a game you're comfortable with, and then maybe next week. That's why not playing week 1 in the preseason is such a problem now because he could have gotten comfortable in that position, and then we try it in week 2 and see what happens.
Hmm. In terms of Jones, he went 11 of 18, 138 yards. He only played the first half, obviously, but he did throw 2 interceptions. One of them was a boneheaded interception. Yeah, they were backed up on their own side of the field. He was in the end zone. He was able to get sacked, but he threw it right to safety Jalen Petrie, and that was just a terrible play. That was something I didn't like from him, obviously, and I understand that.
Got picked off in the first play too.
Yeah,
Texas dropped it. He should have had interception earlier on that drive, and then that one.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think for me, that's when you told me about his aggressiveness, I was like, yeah, I like that, but also at the same time, he's barely coming back. He's making these boneheaded decisions again. It's like we can use the excuse to say, oh yeah, it was his first game back, but at the same time, it's not the most promising thing to hear from your, to see from your quarterback when he's, throwing near interceptions or actual interceptions like he did against Houston, 2 of them to be exact. And I know one of them wasn't as bad. He was trying to target Hyatt down the field, and then it was a 50-50, it seemed like, right? But
50 ball, but you don't throw 50-50 balls to Jalen Hyatt.
you throw 50-50 too.
Yeah, you throw it to Malik Nabers. Hyatt, you kind of just overthrow him so he can use his speed and get the ball. That's Jones not being a good decision maker or not understanding the strength of his teammates, which is a bigger issue to deal with down the line.
Mm-hmm. And for the Giants, their only touchdown in the game came in the second quarter. All their scoring came in the second quarter, actually. Devin Singletary scoring a 1-yard touchdown run. It was like a 7-play, 68-yard drive. So that was one of the positives, I guess, from this game as well. They scored a field goal later in the second quarter, 12 plays, 64 yards, and then a Graham Gano field goal to get them to 10 points. But that was all they could score. The second half was terrible. Punt, 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 fumble, 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 were how the 6 drives for the Giants ended. Malik Nabers played well, 4 catches, 54 yards, so I expect nothing less from him. He was great. He was playing despite the ankle injury he suffered last week during practice, so thankfully he's fine. He was ready to go, and he played. Tommy DeVito with Drew Lock out. He played, 10 of 19, 75 yards. We'll talk about DeVito towards the end of the show as well. And we didn't discuss this, me and you off here, but shout out to the Giants signing fullback Jacob Johnson. One of my favorite underrated signings, because I know Talking Giants brought this up first, how they wanted to see New York use a fullback because, it's rare that teams kind of have fullbacks, and the Giants picked the one up for the first time in a while. So your thoughts on Johnson and that signing?
I love it. I love that he has some experience with the offensive line coach. And, I know fullback don't work exactly with offensive line coach, but where we are in football now, the fullback position is very closely a similar style of play to an offensive lineman where you're focusing on blocking, you're trying to protect the quarterback. I know like guys like Kyle Juszczyk or and Jerome Bennett are kind of going back to that scoring aspect, but I like it from the standpoint he's familiar. It's another blocker out there for Daniel Jones, and maybe someone we can use on a power back as a power back in certain situations. If it's a 3rd and 1, if it's a 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, why not throw off the defense and hand it off to the power back? Because you don't need a big 7-yard gain. You just need those 1 or 2 yards, and fullback can get that for you. So I'm all for bringing Jack Johnson and trying to get fullbacks more involved.
And I think that helps out a lot because on this Giants team, they don't have that power running back. Gray's a pretty speed guy in a way. Tracy the same way. Singletary the same way. Not to say that they can't break tackles because of all 3 of them are capable of doing so. It's just the fact that power back type of player. That's what
Jacobs isn't there.
Yeah, beautiful. I miss him, by the way. He was so good for us back in the back in those Super Bowl runs. But he made 34 starts at fullback in his career. Played over 60+ games, so pretty still sort of young player-ish for Johnson, and I'm just glad he's here on this team. Had a block or 2 that stood out to me from this game against Houston. So we'll see if he plays in the 3rd game against the Jets. We'll get to the Jets in just a second, but were there any takeaways from this game that you have, Brian? And then to add on to that, do you want Jones to play in Game 3 against the Jets or no?
I mean, before his performance, I would have said no because I don't think you should play your starters the last week of the preseason. But after how poorly, and you can say he threw for 138 yards, he had 11 receptions. The issue with that is he was stat padding, all right? His numbers changed second team defense, and he was stat padding against the worst team. When he had, the number 1 defense, the starters out there for the Texans on defense, and I know the Texans are a good team, and we're going to have one of the better defenses, but it is concerning the decision-making and interceptions and just looking lost out there against the defense. So I want him to play a series against the Jets. I don't want to play a half. I don't want to play a quarter. Give him a few reps, and then all right, you're good. Just give him something to maybe he can have a 6-play drive for a touchdown, just something to get that confidence level a little bit higher before week 1.
I assume on that first drive, if he doesn't play well, I guess on that specific, will you be discouraged, or how would you hypothetically feel if he doesn't play well on that?
I'd be pretty nervous. I'm already nervous for Jones coming into this season. Done nothing to change that for me. And if he comes in and struggles again against, and I know the Jets again are a top tier defense in the league, but if he comes in and he looks overmatched and looks confused, then that's gonna be like, we might be in trouble here.
So how much blame do you put it in terms of the rustiness versus just no matter if he's healthy or not, it's just the same player?
I would say 50-50 because we saw he kind of played how he played in that Raiders game. Before he tore his ACL in the Raiders game, he struggled. He was really looking down receivers, really holding on the ball too long, and that obviously caused him to get hurt. And we kind of saw those same mistakes being made in the preseason game. So if those mistakes keep popping up, well, is this Russ or is this now the player he is because he hasn't played in so long?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if he does play against New York, that would kind of be a pretty good indicator in terms of if he's ready or not. You mentioned the starters don't play as much in that last game, but they should. I feel like, just like Houston in a way, all the starters should play like the first maybe 1 or 2 drives for me. I want to see it. Maybe hold out Malik because he looks fine. And honestly, with the injury, he's
Malik,
fine.
Andrew Thomas, some of the more established pieces on this team. You want to give Singletary a day off, that's fine.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I would probably play everyone else.
Yeah, I don't want to see more from Singletary. I think he's obviously the starter at running back, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of him as of right now, not that, he didn't do anything wrong. It's just that for me, as you know, I would prefer Tyrone Tracy or Eric Gray back there.
Tyrone Tracy has so much more upside. Where it's all right. Singletary has a very high floor, but doesn't have the ceiling that a Tracy has, or an Eric Gray for that matter, or even a Miller. Turbo Miller might have.
Exactly. Who I think we both expect to play a lot in that last game to make his.
I think he's fighting for his position right now, and I know some injuries, like Tracy being out, is going to help him make the roster. But if he can go out there against the Jets, because there was another, I know it wasn't undrafted, but there was another player who had a very big game against the Jets and went on to have a big career as a New York Giant. That was Victor Cruz. The preseason game against the Jets in 2011 was Victor Cruz's coming out party, and he took off from there.
Mm-hmm.
It could repeat itself here. This is a big game for some guys, and I would love it if Miller comes out here and rushes for 50-plus yards and a tutty.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, he's a speed guy. He had a heck of a story to how he joined the NFL and whatnot with the Giants. So we'll see, and we'll get the Jets and just right now in just a bit. But we'll shift offensively to the defense, who did allow 28 points. Yes, statistically wasn't the best stat line, but then again, you can kind of blame the turnovers by the offense too. The defensive line, the points like they did.
That's basically 7 points already, so that's 21. And then there's the interception being late, stuff like that.
Just a whole mess per se. The offense kind of they screwed them up, but they played well defensively other than the scoring and whatnot. They had that goal line stand on that first drive against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Elijah Chatman, and I want to get your thoughts on that because when we talked about offseason acquisitions by the Giants, we talked about the usual suspects, but Chatman was an underrated pickup, and he's played extremely well. Extremely well. I think that's, or I think we both know it's the reason why New York went to go ahead and traded Jordan Phillips to Dallas. They cut another deep Ryder Anderson. They cut him as well. So that kind of just leaves Chatman to be part of the roster, and he's played extremely well.
Oh, he's played great against, and I know he's playing against backups and stuff, but he had a sack on the season. He had a sack on the preseason, has 5 tackles. This guy is, getting in there, playing hard, and wrecking games for certain teams. And you'll see that can translate into regular season success. But there is kind of that opening at defensive tackle, too, behind Dexter Lawrence. that spot that was open because we traded Leonard Williams last season. We need someone to step up. And if Chapman wants to play hard and wreck games like that, he's a fine, guy to sub in and out for Dexter Lawrence when we need to.
Yeah, and then I know we have Rakeem Nunes-Roches, and he's a solid, well, not more like some, maybe just like an okay, serviceable defensive lineman. But I expect if Chapman plays well again, I think we fully expect him to play against the Jets. But if he has another outstanding performance like he's had the past few games, Nunes-Roches might be in trouble in terms of the starting spot.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't want to overreact too much because I understand preseason and everything like that. But we've seen Chapman from his hustle chasing down J.J. Taylor in that game against Houston. From the defensive line position. That's
there's that drive there that he has. He's got a drive that very few players have, and I like to see it.
Yeah, and he's undersized. When that's not always a bad thing because he has some speed for a defensive tackle. But honestly, I do love him a lot. Very underdog type story by him. He was actually invited to the Seahawks camp before he joined the Giants. And they said, "Nah, you're too small." And that's why they didn't bring him onto the team. Blessing in disguise, as he's now with us, and he's playing extremely well far through 2 games. So I expect him to definitely challenge Nunes-Roches for that defensive line spot alongside Dexter Lawrence. And as the depth chart stands right now, it looks like it's going to be Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Nunes-Roches on that front 3. And then you have Ojulari, Okereke, McFadden, and Thibodeau at the linebacker spots behind them in terms of this 3-4 defense. So, but in terms of Chapman, proud of him. Way to go. Big guy. But other than that, defensively, they played pretty well. Nothing too crazy in terms of like takeaways from the defensive side of the ball. Unless you have any thoughts or anything like that from the defensive perspective.
No, not really. It was they had a pretty average game.
Yeah, nothing too exciting.
Trey Herndon was good to see him get a pass deflection. Good to see McFadden get out there, get a few hits. It's about it. Mm-hmm. Nothing really. We didn't really get to see the real start, what we're expecting for this pass rush, but that will come week 1.
Exactly. And Alex Johnson, shout out to him, by the way, the one of the cornerbacks on the roster trying to make it onto the team, had 7 tackles against Houston. So shout out to him. Let's see if he makes the roster because the cornerback room is it needs some help. And that kind of helps us shift to our next subject here, which is Jaycee Horn. Empire Sports Media, shout out to those guys led by Anthony Rivardo and Alex Wilson. They released an article about Jaycee Horn, how he might be a possible trade candidate for New York. Jaycee Horn is 24 years old. Was the 8th overall pick when he was drafted, but the reason why he's being involved in trade talks at the moment is because he's someone the Giants should consider because their cornerback room stinks. And this also ties into the Jets topic in the next segment because the secondary outside of Deonte Banks was just bad. But anyways, so Horn is 24 years old. He's had an extensive injury history. His best season was in 2022, where he had 53 tackles, 7 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, but he was hurt in 2021. He was hurt in 2023, and it's just a whole mess to the point where he may be expendable. New York is known for doing kind of unexpected flyer trades. We saw that with Isaiah Simmons, who has adjusted to sort of a new role with New York this offseason, kind of being that linebacker safety hybrid, although he has been struggling a little bit with fast wideouts, but hopefully he gets that solved in time. But, they traded, a 7th rounder for Simmons? So
yeah, I think it was a conditional 7th round pick. So not even an important 7th round pick.
Yeah, so I guess my question to you is, should the Giants trade for Jaycee Horn? What are your thoughts on him as a player by any chance? And I mean, he was the 8th overall pick, so that has to say something. And he played pretty well in Carolina in college.
This is definitely something that Joe Shane should explore. We heard there's the expression leave no rock unturned. And I think we both agree that the biggest hole on this roster right now is quarterback 2. I know people like to say, you need a quarterback. Well, we have a quarterback right now. We know who the starter is going to be. We don't know who that starting second corner is going to be. We don't know who's going to be alongside DeAndre Banks. Is it going to be Trey Herndon? But he's only been, a nickel corner his whole life. It's going to be fair to move him outside. Same thing with Drew Phillips. I like Drew Phillips, but he really played against the slot receiver. How is he going to transition out? Jaycee Horn might just be that guy. He is still young. He is 24 years old. Like you said, the 8th overall pick. So he did have that value in college. And he's not a bust, not underperformed. He's just been bitten by the injury bug. So if he can stay healthy and stay on the field, there's nothing to suggest that he can't live up to the 8th overall pick expectations. And we already have a good relationship with the Panthers. Joe Shane and the Pats GM are friends. We saw it in Hard Knocks. We made a trade with Brian Burns, so there is, a familiarity here. Why not send a 7th round pick, which in itself is a lottery ticket? You don't really expect anything out of a 7th round pick other than maybe a depth position, maybe a back end starter for drafting like a wide receiver or a running back. Send that off and potentially get, a quarterback too who can still develop and potentially become a franchise.
Yeah, I think I get the injuries and everything, but when healthy, this guy he's pretty good. I mean, in 2022, when I mentioned his best season, he had a 71.4 Pro Football Focus grade, which is phenomenal. And in 2023, when he was healthy, he did finish with an 80+ Pro Football Focus grade. So that's among one of
good player.
Yeah, that's above average, and that's great to see. So it's like if it's worth a 6th or 7th, yes, but nothing more than that from our part, because if Simmons was a 7th round pick and he wasn't playing that well, Horn is kind of the same guy, just different position wise in terms of the value. So, and as Kevin says here, shout out to Mr. Wilson. 2 steps forward, no steps back should be the goal, of course. And for this Giants team, that's the thing. And if this trade helps us, get towards that goal, then perfect. If Joe Shane thinks it doesn't and he's comfortable with the cornerback room, then that's fine. But from a fan perspective, and like both of us have said on multiple occasions, yes, we love Deonte Banks and he's going to be fine. But at the same time, it wouldn't hurt to get a solid veteran corner. We saw Stephon Gilmore get off the market not too long ago. He's in Minnesota now. And now Adoree Jackson's still out there. Not the best option, but he has familiarity with the Giants and Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator. And, I guess to add on to that as well, the Giants did kind of restructure Andrew Thomas's contract to clear up some cap space. So they're at about 13.
Which shows like they can still go. They're still wanting to make moves. Like they're restructuring to create cap space. Why?
Yeah.
Some option out, something they're not liking that they think need to go out there and fix soon.
Because they were, already at 10 million in cap space already, and they cleared it up more to make it 13. So even though Gilmore's off the market, there is maybe someone out there that they want to sign. Safety wise, no. I'm trying to think of positions other than corner. I mean, we're set. Tyler Newman already passed Dane Delton on that safety position. He'll be with Jason Pinnock to start the year. I think it's just corner. It's literally just cornerback that they're, hopefully trying to sign.
It's cornerback, or like they're just doing it as an insurance option in case someone gets hurt. But knock on wood, I don't foresee that. So go out there, make an aggressive move, and bring in Jaycee Horn and be like, hey, we really believe in this team and trying to make it better in every way possible.
Yeah, so
we can address this roster.
Exactly. Remaining quarterbacks include Xavier Howard, so that's one big name out of the bunch that are available. Adoree Jackson, Patrick Peterson, J.C. Jackson's another guy, and then you have the Eli Apples and the Aaron Robinsons of the world. I don't think there's no chance we bring Aaron Robinson back, not after. That's a weird case. I think we haven't discussed that a lot in our podcast history, is the whole Aaron Robinson situation, because he's played. We drafted him in the 3rd round, and he played maybe one season with us, and then just disappeared off the side of the earth, and we really don't know why.
No, I mean, you can make a whole podcast about that entire draft class and how bad it was, because that's the Kadarius Toney draft. I don't think anyone from that draft is still on the roster.
Except Ojulari, but he's
Ojulari, that's it. And you could say Ojulari is the best, but he is a guy that's not – I mean, kind of like Jaycee Horn, he's been banged up his entire career. So, we really can't say that was a successful pick. He lost his job to Brian Burns.
Yeah, and because Burns is just a dominant, proven defensive player, Ojulari, yes, has potential, but hey, he hasn't done much.
Potential if he can't get on the field and prove it.
Exactly. So we'll see. Hopefully, we get some news in the next week or two. I know roster cuts are going to happen as well. That's going to be sad, obviously, because the roster gets trimmed to 53 guys. We'll definitely cover because I guess the game is on Saturday. We may do a 53 roster prediction tomorrow. We'll see. No promises, but we'll see. But hopefully the Giants. I think just to sum that up, I think the Giants should explore it. You believe the Giants should explore it as well, Jaycee Horn. But like I said, nothing more than a 6th or a 7th for a guy who has gone through a lot of injuries and stuff like that.
It's a low risk, high reward option. It's okay, boom, 7th round pick or 6th round pick. You let them perform well, awesome. He doesn't, cut him. That's simple.
Do you start him right away?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So that means
it may not week 1 because if he say trade for him tomorrow, it could take him a little bit to learn the playbooks. Maybe week 1, but I would say he is the long term. This season, Jaycee Horn is going to be quarterback number 2.
Okay, but other than that, if we don't sign him, we're likely rolling with Banks, Flott, and Phillips. Shit. I just not know. I'm sorry.
Phillips is nice, but I don't know what Banks is the only guy I trust in that group because I don't know what Phillips is. Flott I've seen, never really been impressed with him as a cornerback number 2. Not much really to inspire confidence in those guys.
Mm-hmm. And that ties into the topic here at the Jets practice. We had a joint practice with them today. Didn't go well. Well, let's go with the positives first, I guess. Daniel Jones did at one point go 9 for 9 against the Jets defense, and that was great. But I heard that they didn't push the ball down the field. So going back to your point of kind of easing him in, we kind of saw that today in the Jets practice, but they didn't push the ball, and that's concerning because and the reason why it's concerning to me is, yes, I get it. He's trying to ease himself back in. I do. And I don't mind that at all, Brian. It's just the fact that I don't want to see that in the regular season in terms of I don't want to see short plays. I don't want to see receivers having to, instead of go routes, having to run slants and curls. No, I get it. We need to be a fast-paced offense. Okay. And that's that's what Dable wants. That's what we saw against Houston. Jones forcing the ball down the field. And to me, this practice was a bit discouraging for me. Yes, the positive was that he didn't, throw an incompletion against the Jets. But at the same time, it's yeah, but it's better if he had no incompletions, but he was throwing the ball deep. There was nothing vertical at all against the Jets. No. But yeah, it's just other than that, there was literally no positives. I mean, the Jets defense was just dominating the Giants offense all practice long. And even Malik said it too. The Jets defense was so much better than us, than our offense. And what kind of hurts the most is that I hate to do this over and over again with Jones, but even Sauce Gardner, who was asked about Jones after practice, he was asked, what do you think of Daniel Jones? And I'm sure you saw the video as well, but he was literally struggling to find an answer. He was like, and I'm going to stutter like this on purpose because he was like, he's a good quarterback. That's literally how he was saying. And I was watching that and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This man has nothing nice to say about Daniel Jones. And that's the thing, because I try to be positive about Jones. I really do. But you tie in the Houston game, plus even opponents don't know what to say because they have to be polite to their opponent.
Shout out Sauce Gardner for doing that and being polite. That's a big character move on you, bud. That I know Jalen Ramsey would have gone on and trashed them. Sauce Gardner just being respectful, hey, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's And look, I did see Sauce kind of wave off to the Giants offense after practice ended. But honestly, when your defense is dominating the way they did today, I honestly think the Giants deserve it. I really do, because this offense just was not good at all today. when it came to 11 on 11s and stuff like that. So it was.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's a defense hyping up a good performance. Like if it was Deontay Banks waving goodbye to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense, every Giants fan would love it. Right? There'd be hype around it. There'd be posters made of it. It would be a rallying call for this team. Like, look what he's doing. This is a leader on defense. Gardner's just, he had a good performance. The whole defense had a good performance. They outplayed the Giants, and he's going to let them know. He's just doing friendly taunting. And I know taunting is frowned upon in the NFL, and it's a 15-yard penalty. But sometimes showing some emotion like that is good for the league. And I really took no issue with what Sauce did because we deserved it. Like, we did nothing to earn their respect. So taunt us?
And that's the thing. It wasn't just the offense that was playing bad, but just like we talked about with the cornerback, the secondary was terrible. There's a point in practice. It was a full team period for both sides. They were running out their first team offense versus first team defense, starting from the 50. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, boom, touchdown for the Giants and Jones. They went 4 and out. And then when the Jets' second offense came onto the field, they connected on a touchdown as well from Tyrod Taylor, the former Giant, to Brownlee, the wide receiver. And as the Giants were going to the sideline, that's when we saw Gardner wave to the Giants. So, and as Patricia Traynor said in a tweet, this is by far the worst practices that the secondary has ever had so far. They were just getting beat, and it's we already have one situation to worry about with Jones in the offense, but this is why that defense is so important. And so far, and I hate to say it, it's like, dang. So there's no positives on offense, but there's also another concern on defense. And that just kind of just makes me sick in terms of like, okay, so are we really just not going to be good at all this year?
And it's even more concerning considering who the Giants are playing week 1. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings, who make as many jokes as you want about the quarterback situation with Sam Darnold and being forced to start a guy who's, kind of on his way out of the NFL. They have 2 really good wide receivers. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league. I know Jordan Addison's status is up in the air, but when he's on the field, those 2 make one of the most dangerous and dynamic receiving targets in the league. And if you're telling me the Giants secondary is struggling with the Jets, what's it going to be week 1? Because the Vikings just be like, if Darnold can get Jefferson and Addison the ball, they could score on this secondary right now. So it's, pretty dire that the Giants going to make a strong first impression week 1. They got to figure out the secondary ASAP.
And that Vikings defense, compared to what Jones played against in 2022, definitely a whole lot better. Yes, they lost Daniel Hunter, but they have Jonathan Grenard on the edge on this 3-4 defense that they run. They have Harrison Phillips. In the secondary, they have Stephon Gilmore, who they just signed. They have Dallas Turner as well. And then they have Byron Murphy, Shaquille Griffin. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this defense they're not vanilla anymore. And yes, Sam Darnold has been known for jokes and seeing ghosts and stuff like that.
He's known for mono.
Yeah, but at the same time, he is a veteran quarterback who, if he's average enough, should beat this Giants team. Because you have Jefferson, you have Aaron Jones in the backfield. You mentioned the Addison. Hockenson will be playing likely in week 1 because he's still recovering from an ACL injury. But you have the best receiver in the league, and your job is simple: to just get him the football. And I think that's the same thing with the Giants. Is if they do beat Minnesota, it'll be 2 things. 1, the secondary held the Vikings as best
secondary
as possible.
Played average.
Yes, perfect.
An average performance.
Just average. Nothing too great. They got the job done enough. And as for the offensive side of the ball, Jones targeted Malik at least 10 times. Because he's going to be lined up against Gilmore. It's 100%, 95% chance it's going to be Gilmore versus Nabers right off the bat. That's going to be Gilmore, shadowing him every play. He is the best corner on the roster for Minnesota. So as long as Jones targets Malik, things should be fine. If he should be. Because targets is one thing. the football in his hands, Malik's hands, is another thing. Because you could just throw this away all you want, but if he's not getting the ball in his hands, then what are we doing?
Right. And I know Gilmore's a good cornerback, but Gilmore's also not the same Stephon Gilmore he was 5 years ago. He is, 34 years old. How is he going to do going up against someone like Malik Nabers, who we all saw what he did in college, the explosiveness, the speed, the athleticism, someone who is a decade younger at least? How is he going to keep up with them?
There's a reason why he was let go. You don't, even though he was as good as advertised, there's a reason why Xavier Howard's in the free agent market. There's a reason why these guys are still out. Because if they were solid still, like they used to be, teams would get them immediately once they get on the market. But Gilmore has been on the market for a long time. Howard's been on the market for a long time. They're just sitting there. So we'll see what New York does. But honestly, because of how positive I am always, I feel like you bring more reality point in this podcast compared to me, Brian. But even just the practice today, the game last week against the Texans, it just makes me just sort of sick because it's just there's no positives if we can't even push the ball down the field without throwing an interception. Plus, our secondary can't even stop the second team offense for the Jets, which ironically is led by Tyrod Taylor, who is, he was our best quarterback last year from an offensively perspective.
Statistics standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, it's just what can we do? We're going to let Sam Darnold go off for 3 tutties and 300 plus yards? It seems like it because there's just the secondary is just so unproven. And offensively, there's just nothing to look forward to unless Jones plays well. And I think that ties back to the whole, should Jones play that game against the Jets? Yeah, and maybe I think because of how worried I am, I wouldn't mind him playing the whole first half. Which is that going to happen? No, but I honestly would want to see him out there because at this point, I need him ready by week 1. Drew Lock isn't going to play, and I swear if I see Lock, I'm going to lose my crap. But if
I rather DeVito over Drew Lock. At least DeVito's fun.
He's fun and he's not afraid.
And he'll take some of the negative headlines away for the Giants. Oh, look, it's Tommy DeVito. Italian. Sopranos, stuff like that.
And the fans love him. And I think from the average NFL fan who may not follow the Giants as much, they would rather see DeVito than Jones because we saw what DeVito did. And yeah, sure, it was against the Commanders and the Patriots and the Packers, but he did lead them to wins. DeVito did. So it's there's no other better option anyways, because like I said, I swear if Locke steps on the field for this Giants team,
better options are just funny options.
Which is not good.
That's funny. It's from a point of all right, I'd rather him start, not because I think he's a better quarterback, but the season's a lost point anyway, so might as well just do stupid stuff for a whole year.
Yeah. And we'll do our schedule predictions officially next week, along with the NFC East preview as well. I want to get that covered before the season starts. But I think we said this before. I want to reiterate that is that if the Giants start the season 0-2, it's kind of wraps from a schedule perspective, because after the Vikings and the Commanders, things get ugly. I know we have Dallas week 3, and then we have, I'm trying to double check right now. Yeah, so we have Cleveland week 3, Dallas week 4, Seattle week 5, Cincy week 6, and then
oh my God, why?
Yeah.
Why? Stop making Giants Cowboys Sunday night football. Stop.
Thursday night.
To see it.
Thursday night, but does that make a difference?
No, it doesn't.
No.
I'm putting this on prime time.
Ironically, because it's on Amazon Prime. Nice. I see what you did there without even trying. No, but seriously, I think what the worst idea was to give us Cincinnati on Sunday night. Why? Yes, because Joe Burrow didn't play us before, but that's not a good thing because that's Joe freaking.
Why not just replay why just throw a funeral instead? Because it'd be the same thing. It'd be a massacre.
They show
a Boston Massacre documentary because it's going to be the same thing of what this is.
That's dark. That's dark. They might as well, honestly, Cincinnati wear the black uniforms instead of like the white or the orange. No, they should wear the blackout uniforms or black and orange uniforms against us, because at this point, oh my God, we're not gonna beat Cincinnati, bro.
God, no. Oh, my God, no.
I get, because Banks is gonna be
And
on
then we
Jamar
play
Chase.
the Eagles the next week. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Oh, we're so as this is why it's important to win those first two games, because you're gonna. The most realistic thing to happen for this Giants team to start the year, that they go 2-5. If they go 2-5, I wouldn't be as worried. If they're 1-6 or 0-7, just, you might as well go moving. Play DeVito. If Jones is still playing, just play DeVito. Put Tracy in. Yes, keep playing Nabers. Let DeVito and Nabers work things out. And then at that point, if you're 0-7 or 1-6, you're getting a quarterback in the draft.
Oh, yeah. You're looking at Shadir Sanders or Carson Beck, or, one of the two big guys. Maybe if you're like, maybe DeVito rise off a win or two. Maybe a Quinn Euros now becomes more of a conversation, but we'll see. Though maybe there's a quarterback out there that we don't know about yet. Like, think about back to the 2020 draft. Tua and Herbert were the headliners. No one would talk about Joe Burrow before that season. So we could potentially see, hopefully we can see something like that, because it's a little bit of a weaker quarterback class this year. So like as many options as possible.
Exactly. So personally, well, who do you prefer? I guess it's too early to talk about it, but who's your number one quarterback from this next upcoming class? Is it Shadir? Or is it Beck?
I lean Carson Beck. Where I lean right now, because he's played SEC football. He's the best quarterback in the country. Like, I love Colorado. They're really overhyped. All right, they went 4-8 last year, guys. Chill out. Sure. Deion Sanders is cool. Travis Hunter is an amazing player, and I think could be a really good NFL player. But like, let's pump. Some guys have him in the college football playoffs. Some have him on. Chill out. All right. They're going to be like a 5-win team this year.
They do have North Dakota State to kick off the year, so there's not a
I would definitely bet North Dakota State plus whatever they're going to get. It's probably going to be like a plus 10. I think North Dakota State plus 10.
I think it's Colorado -6.
That's North Dakota State plus 6. I would take North Dakota State plus 6.
Come on, they're in the Big 12 now. They have Travis Hunter.
Okay, but there's always an FCS upset in week 1, and North Dakota State is the Alabama of the FCS. They could pack it in the Mountain West. They really could.
Oh shoot, I got a point. What? We'll see.
I love Deion. Don't get me wrong.
Me too.
I love Deion. I think he's going to do great things for Colorado. I just think we're going a little fast here with the Colorado hype. Let's give them a few years to build that program, and they're in the Big 12 now, which is a lot better than it used to be, and will be much better once Clemson and Florida State figure out a way to get over there.
They're going over there?
They're trying to. The ACC will be dead in the next 3 years.
So why did Cal move?
It's kind of like life rafts on the Titanic. Just get off.
They left the Pac-12 for this shit.
The Pac-12 wasn't much better. All he did was kick the can down the road.
Oh, the Pac-12 has 2 teams. Oregon State and Washington State, because no one else wanted them.
Stanford's going to stay for the Pac-4. Okay, we can stay in this one for the Pac-4 or go to the ACC, which will probably end up like the Pac-12. But at least we'll have a 4-year grace period to kind of figure out where we go from here.
They're literally the rejects, bro. I feel bad for
because they actually could be really good schools. Like, Stanford's got a marquee matchup with Notre Dame every single season.
Yeah.
Cal's brought 2 good quarterbacks to the NFL. If you get the right coaching, Stanford was the number 3 school in the country in 2011. These are programs that can be successful. They just need the right guy at the helm.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm a Cal fan now, but it's like, it's weird. They don't belong in the ACC. These are teams from the East Coast, and you expect these guys from California to travel, all the way to the East Coast to play at Clemson. Not that they play them this season, but like a Clemson or I'm trying to think of ACC teams for some reason. Holy cow!
Miami,
NC
NC
State.
State,
Yeah,
Duke, Boston
teams like
College,
that.
Syracuse.
Yeah, it's like, why? That's not right. And sure, there's going to be the Cal-Stanford matchup like there always is, but like that's it. Like that's the only teams they play in California. Other than that, they're all the way in the East Coast, or they come over here from the East Coast, and it's just like it's weird. And like the Pac-2, I feel bad for those schools. I really do. And it's just like
Just move them out west already.
Matter of fact, just put them as independents. If
that
they
works
really
too.
want, yeah. Yeah, I think Mountain West, San Jose State goes in there. Fresno State deserves to be. If they were to go to the Pac-12, I go San Jose State, Fresno State. I even put in, no, Nevada's not Mountain. No, Nevada's Mountain West. Yeah, Nevada and Mountain West. UNLV in the Pac-12. I mean, so.
State, I think, is still Mountain West.
Yeah, so from Mountain West to Pac-12, you would have SJ State, Fresno State, Nevada, UNLV. That's 4 teams from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. That makes 6. Yeah, I would just move everyone from like you just said, move from everyone from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. Just to, I don't know, because no one
we rebrand the Mountain West to the Pac-12.
Yeah, because no one watches the Mountain West.
I gamble a lot.
Yeah.
The smartest thing these 2 teams can do, and I don't want to go too off topic here, but
fine.
if the Big 12 and ACC were smart, they would do a trade. ACC will give Big 12 Cal, Stanford, and SMU, and the Big 12 will give ACC West Virginia, Cincinnati, and UCF. Geographically, those make way more sense of conferences. You have the Atlantic, the ACC dominate the East Coast, and the Big 12 can dominate the Midwest and West Coast. Makes perfect sense.
Less travel for Cal.
Yeah.
Well,
good matchups like West Virginia and Pitt in the ACC. That becomes a game that can happen every single year now. It doesn't have to be a non-conference game. Boom, that happens. You have, an interesting matchup with like Cincinnati playing like Louisville or playing, stuff like that. Cincinnati Pitt could be one too. It creates more UCF and Miami, get a more Florida rivalry. Maybe another Florida school kind of persuades Florida State, like, okay, we could beat up on UCF and these guys will stay.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to maybe think about if you're in these 2 conferences. Not going to happen because the ACC has a lot of problems to deal with and things aren't as great over there as people make it out to be. Like, yeah, sure, this is a Power 4, but we're very clearly moving to Power 3 and then from there, Power 2.
Mm-hmm. You should work for NCAA at this point. I'm just saying. Speaking of college, we have to do our Notre Dame predictions because college football starts in 3 days. So Notre Dame plays next week.
Next week, play Texas A&M on Labor Day, right? Labor Day is the 31st.
Correct.
Yep. So you play them on Labor Day night.
Schedule predictions next week for the Irish.
Yes,
we'll see. How's that quarterback? Is he still undecided yet on that?
He locked a visit to Auburn. He's going to go on an official visit. So, not great.
We'll see. All righty. Well, keep us updated, my man. And then, we'll just go from there. All right. Last topic before we make our announcement for our fantasy league. Tommy DeVito. The Irish man himself. Italian. What the heck?
Italian man.
Whoa. Not Irish. Last episode we discussed about, some podcast names if DeVito were to, make a podcast, which he should. He would be very entertaining. I feel like a lot of fans would like it and hear his perspective, kind of like an Amon Ra podcast, like he does with his brother, but from a DeVito perspective.
Him, quarterback.
He could do it with maybe not on his own. Who should he do it with?
His agent.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Okay. All right. So If he were to have a podcast, what are
Oh, hang on.
some
Little
names?
breaking news. Little breaking news here. Actually, kind of Giants related.
Oh shoot.
The Dallas Cowboys have signed two-time Pro Bowler Linval Joseph to a contract with up to $4 million. The former Giant is now a Dallas Cowboy.
Don't they have enough? The Marcus Lawrence, Jordan Phillips, and now Linval Joseph. Are they just getting ready to kill us week freaking 4?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like when George Steinbrenner used to sign all the old Mets to the Yankees. That's what Jerry Jones is doing right now.
It pisses me off. I hate Jerry. Sure, if we can, no, there's a reason why he was on the market. We'll take
no, he's not. Linval Joseph is not the player he once was. Okay, this is kind of a last stop.
Exactly. Van Roten and Illuminor will take care of him. This ain't Evan Neal and Ben Bredesen or
going to be an addition of remember when Linval Joseph was a Dallas Cowboy, not because he did anything well there, because everyone forgets about it. I have to remind them.
It's gonna be your future remember when article when you do those
exactly
articles.
Future remember when article. I haven't decided this week's yet, but that will be tomorrow's problem.
Last week was Jerry Rice, correct?
Jerry Rice was last week. Week before
Beautiful.
that was Larry Walker, and then Randy Moss before that.
Very nice. Keep it up, my guy. I love those.
Yep.
All right. So DeVito, if he and his agent hypothetically made a podcast, what are some names would you say? I have a few, but I'll start with you first.
All right. So I got 5 here.
Okay.
The first one is You Talking to Me, which is, Italian, because he's, mine are, pretty fun. Mine, they got stuff.
Okay.
Mine are pretty mob related.
I should have gone first because mine are kind of basic, but yeah.
You go then.
There we go. Okay. So mine is this is terrible. I already know mine are like if people had to grade our picks, mine would get an F. So mine is one of them is DeVito Speaks, which is I don't know. Second is Italian Mania because he's Italian and the craziness around him when he was playing. So the third one is the Jersey Italian. Sounds like a sandwich, but I don't know. Yeah. What do you want? Because I heard this thing was called What Do You Want? I guess it's a symbol for it. I don't know. I looked it up. This means what do you want or whatever. I don't know. That's what I saw on Google. And then the fifth one is called the Italian Giant. And like I said, these were all trash, terrible names. The fun begins when you announce your name. So just go ahead and ignore my
Okay, so You Talking to Me. Number 4 is a little basic. Tommy Cutlet's Corner. Just kind of, playing off the nickname, the alliteration. Number 3 is, something he used to be in this role. Never been used for a podcast name before, and that is the backup to the backup. That'd be a great podcast name for Tommy DeVito.
That's weird. Never heard
that.
No,
right?
Oh.
No. Number 2 is a podcast you can't refuse. Again, going back to that mobster making an offer he can't refuse. And number 1, which if we're being honest here, Tommy DeVito's starting a podcast. That means his NFL career has flamed out. So number 1 is Clinging to Fame.
I pray to God that's not the case. God damn it. Shoot, that would suck if that was the name because that would mean his NFL career sucked. And those 3 games were his only moments of fame, and he never did anything after that. So, dang, those are good names though. Those are good names. Just that last one. I hope that's not the case because that would mean our quarterbacks are really in trouble.
Oh yeah, no, I mean
really in trouble. We would need a starter and a backup quarterback. Holy crap! Great names. Honestly, he would be entertaining. Him and his agent, just their accents and the things they could talk, breaking down the games, especially if DeVito starts. You could find out like, oh, what you see on this player? Why did you do this and that? That would be entertaining to see from DeVito. So great names by you. Can't say the same about myself, honestly. What would the logo be though? Would it be this?
Yeah, it's got to be him doing this.
Okay.
Something like that.
Gotcha.
Now the tunnels and the Sopranos theme doing this. Which I
Oh,
missed,
yeah.
by the way. I was so upset. I missed that. So the first home game Tommy Devito started in, he ran out of the tunnel going like this with the Sopranos theme going. I was outside waiting online to get into the stadium and completely missed it.
No.
I maybe wasn't in the best state of mind walking into the stadium, but to this day, I'm like, how did I miss that? How did I miss the I was 2 feet away from the building. How did I miss the Sopranos theme song?
If DeVito does start again and he starts on a game that you're going to, you may get to witness it again, unless he changes something. But I doubt that he does. If he were to start and he runs out to whatever music he goes out to, hopefully it's still The Sopranos, but we'll see. But yeah, DeVito, make a podcast, and I
I'm
hope
on this
it's
one.
yes, that would be nice. And if he does start one, please, hopefully you're still in the league and not on the market.
Bringing the fame.
Yeah. Speaking of fame, for those of you who haven't checked out the Corner Booth podcast, we released an episode yesterday as well. Coach Jim Mora joined the show to reveal his our fantasy draft order for the Corner Booth fantasy draft order, along with his thoughts on this upcoming season. So check out that if you guys haven't yet. I bring that up because we have our own fantasy draft starting next week, the 31st. So for those I know you, Brian, you're into college football. Hopefully Notre Dame isn't playing during the time that we're drafting.
No, playing at 8.
So yeah. 5. Oh, perfect. Plenty of time. But next Saturday will be our draft. Unless something happens, there will be a show on that Saturday. We'll hope to bring in some guests guests from the league, I should say, to give their thoughts on their teams and their predictions for the season and stuff like that. But we'll figure that out on the 31st, which is next Saturday. I know that Easy will be there from the ATL show. Not sure about 16 yet, but we'll find out. But yeah, 8-team league, PPR, ESPN, because I don't trust NFL.com or Yahoo Fantasy. And the thing is, no money involved, which is great. But you come in last place, there's a punishment. And we'll figure that out together, me and you, Brian, in terms of that. So, yeah, it'll be a competitive league. Yeah, winner gets bragging rights, but just don't come in last. You come in last, there's a punishment, and you better be ready for it, whatever we come up with. But next Saturday, Fantasy League, we'll announce it on our social medias and stuff like that.
Oh, Nate got Thanos snapped. Yeah, so I guess we're doing Fantasy League at some point next weekend. Saturday might work. We'll see. But yeah, it's just me right now. So I guess we're stuck. Let's see. What should we talk about, folks, while we wait for Nate to? Yeah, Nate just texted me 1 sec WTF, which means he, I guess, got snapped. He's in the ether. You just don't know where he is. So you're stuck with me. So I'm just gonna ramble about. I don't know. I don't really know what you guys. You guys seen any good movies recently? My buddy asked me a question. My buddy asked me a question the other day, and it kind of stumped me. You guys know that Tua never won a Heisman? Like it's just one of those things. Like I always just kind of figured. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Tua and Trevor Lawrence never won a Heisman award, which kind of caught me off guard because my cousin asked me a trivia question. There will be 7 NFL quarterbacks who had won a Heisman. And will be starting week 1. 7. So I got 6, no problem. And I was torn between 3 guys. I was torn between Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and I was torn between Lamar Jackson for that final spot. And I was trying to narrow it down. I'm like, okay, Jackson, he was really good in college, but he did play at Louisville, which I know they're a Power 5 school. I'm so sorry. Nate's texted me saying it's not letting you join. It's not letting him join. I'm still going. But where was I? Oh yeah. So Lamar Jackson. Okay, Louisville. It's not a big school. ACC kind of weak. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, that was great job, StreamYard. I swear, were you saying something about ACC before? Because that would be the last point. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but go ahead, buddy. You were saying.
Just talking about a trivia question my cousin asked me.
Oh, what was the question?
There will be 7 former Heisman winners that will be a starting quarterback in Week 1. Name all 7.
ACC?
One of them is an ACC. One of them is a former ACC quarterback.
Oh, so it's 7 what exactly? So 7 quarterbacks.
There are 7 quarterbacks that won the Heisman that will start Week 1. Name all 7.
Caleb.
Yep, that's one.
Holy crap. Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yep, he's a Heisman winner.
Tua.
No, Tua never won a Heisman.
What?
Yes. Tua didn't win a Heisman.
I'm going through it. ATL. No. Niners. No. Jags. Jets. Lord. No. Trevor didn't win it.
Nope, he came in second a few times, but never won a Heisman.
Never won it. Raiders, no. Saints, no. Oh my gosh. Stroud, no. Stroud?
No, Stroud didn't win. I said, do you give up? Do you want the answer, or you want to keep going? You got 2.
All right, give me 1 minute, and then if the minute runs out, then okay. Starting quarterbacks, what? Burrow.
Burrow's 1. Yep, that's 3.
Kyler
won 1. That's 4.
Shit. What's the other one? Deshaun? No. Deshaun didn't win a Heisman for sure. Shit. All right, I give up. What are the other 3?
The other 3 are Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson.
Oh, I can't make me some Lamar. God damn it. This is why I don't watch college, because I don't know crap. But you know what? I do know who the starting quarterbacks are for each team. I just didn't know that they were Heisman winners, and that's fine. That's something I'll work on this upcoming season, is watching college ball. So we'll see. Good question, by the way, by your cousin. Appreciate that.
Shout out my cousin Ryan.
Yes, sir. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the 3rd and 10 podcast, episode number 16. Tomorrow, unless something happens, we do plan to do a schedule 53-man roster projection. Because at this point, I think it's the roster is dwindled down enough to the point we can kind of predict who will make the roster. And then next week, when it's finalized, we can look at it again and give our thoughts on that. We'll go from there. That's the plan for tomorrow, unless something happens. Yeah, and then look out for another episode of Coach's Corner. Coach Wilson joins me tomorrow to discuss the whole Colorado situation with Deion Sanders and Shadir Sanders and etc. That'll be fun. And then, other than that, follow us on social media at 3rd and 10 Pod. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Nathan_Nguyen24. You can follow Brian on Instagram as well. All of our links are in the description, so just look out for that. But yeah, hopefully, please, for the love of God, Giants, figure it out. Okay, I'm not sure.
And politicians, please stop texting me. I'm not giving you money.
Who's texting you, politician-wise?
Obama, Michelle Obama, Bernie Sanders, Tim Walz, Kamala.
You don't have a set party, right?
I'm not giving you money.
You don't have a set party. You're not a blue or red guy, right? You just whatever. Okay. Yeah, I don't vote. We're the independent party. That's what I like to say. We're independent. But yeah, honestly, I am voting because either way, we're screwed anyways. Because no one likes who is president, no matter what happens. So, alrighty, we'll catch y'all tomorrow, and we'll talk more Giants football, and we will go from there. So.